So what we're going to look at here is we're going to look at how we can use prime factors to help find the highest common factor or lowest common multiple of two numbers. So what we've got down here is I've already chosen two numbers, that's 48 and 72, and I've already listed their prime factors using a prime factor tree, and you can see the working out for 42 is there as follows, and what we're left with here is that 48 is equal to 2 to the power of 4 times 3. So we've written our number 48 as a product of its primes. We've done the same thing here for 72. You can see that we've written out the prime factor tree, and then we've then written 72 is equal to 2 cubed times 3 squared. So that part has already been done for us. What we're now going to look at is we're going to look at how we can use these prime factors to help find the highest common factor and lowest common multiple of 48 and 72. Now for the highest common factor, some of you may have already calculated that, and sometimes when we've got two numbers that are relatively small, like 48 and 72, it is quite straightforward to find the highest common factor without having to use prime factors. But the method we're going to look at in a second can be pretty useful for some larger numbers, particularly when we start looking at 3 and 4 digit numbers, where we're asked to find the highest common factor of those. Now, with lowest common multiple, this is where this method comes in really helpful, because if we're asked to find the lowest common multiple of 48 and 72, you can imagine for that we'd have to write out the 48 times table and the 72 times table, and then find the lowest number in both of those times tables, which can take quite a lot of time, and it increases the risk of us making an error as well. So what we're going to look at here is how we can use these prime factors to help make this job a little bit easier for us. So what we're going to start with is we're going to start by actually writing out the prime factors for each number in expanded form. So what that means is, so for 48, we're going to write this as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And for 72, we're going to write this out in full as well. We're going to write this out as 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a Venn diagram to help us with this. So we're going to quickly draw a Venn diagram down here. So there's one circle. We copy and paste that. Get our overlap. Right. And what we're going to do is we're going to first of all look for any prime factors that are common. So any common prime factors. And we can see that we have a 2 in this list and a 2 in this list. So we can go ahead and write 2 down here in the common part of our Venn diagram. So that we've got another 2 and another 2 in here. So again, we can write another 2 down there in the common part of our Venn diagram. We've also got a third 2 as well. So I'm going to go ahead and write a third 2 down in the common part of our Venn diagram. Now, 48 has another 2 there as a prime factor, but 72 doesn't. So we're not going to write that in the common part of our Venn diagram. What we're going to do is we're then going to look at the next number, so we can see that 48 has 3 as a prime factor, and 72 also has a 3 as a prime factor. So we're going to list 1, 3 down there. And what we've done there is we've listed all of the common prime factors of 48 and 72, and we can see that they are all listed in this common part of our Venn diagram there. So we've got 3 2s and we've got 1 3 that are common to both sets of numbers. Now, what we're going to do here is you can see I've just listed 48 above that part of the Venn diagram and 72 here. What we're going to do now is we're going to write in the remaining the remaining prime factors for each number. So for 48 we've got a 2 left over, and for 72 we've got a 3 left over. And what we can do now is we can use this Venn diagram to help us find the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple for 48 and 72. Now, to find the highest common factor, what we would do is we look at this common section of the Venn diagram, so the part that we've shaded in, and we write that the highest common factor is equal to all of those common factors multiplied together. So we've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And if we work that out, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. So therefore, the highest common factor of 48 and 72 is 24. Now, we can then use the Venn diagrams to help us find the lowest common multiple. And what we do here is we actually multiply together all of these factors. So we multiply together all of the common factors, so 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. But then we also multiply by the remaining numbers as well that we've got left over. So that's the 2 and that's this 3 here. So we times by 2 and times by 3. And then what we can do is we can go ahead and we can actually work this out. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24, times 2 is 48, and then times 3 is 120 plus 24, so it's 144. And there's how we can find our highest common factor and our lowest common multiple of two numbers using our prime factors. So what I would like you to do now is I would like you to write this down as a worked example. So what I would like you to do there is I would like you to start from this point here. So you don't need to go and write out all the prime factor trees because you've already done that part already. And I would like you to write out a worked example with details of how you actually go through each of these stages. If there's anything you're unsure of, make sure that you ask questions. And what I'd like to see is as well, can you provide an explanation for how this works? So the highest common factor might be a little bit more obvious, but can you also provide an explanation for how this works for the lowest common multiple? And we'll discuss these in class later on.